All who have seen this seed must die, yet I swallowed it directly and nurtured it within me for 18 years. The burly man coughed, then revealed a chilling sneer, stealing our giant sect's iron blood scripture? Even if you flee back into the Azure Cloud sect's territory, you will still die. Fang Chen's heart was shaken. The giant sect? Was it not one of the 9 great sects under the dominion of the Heavenly Tao Pavilion? It was the most powerful among the 9 great sects, and also the furthest from the Azure Cloud sect, with several sects separating them. How did people from the giant sect manage to pursue someone into the Azure Cloud sect's territory? The pursued elder angrily cried, "Su Ganglai, you are utterly shameless. This iron blood scripture was clearly my reward for 18 years of alchemy service to your giant sect, yet you, an inner disciple of the giant sect, a member of a renowned righteous faction, actually intend to murder for treasure." Within the giant sect, the iron blood scripture was a confidential cultivation technique accessible only to elders. Su Ganglai, an inner disciple, had coveted it for a long time. When the old man before him, who was retiring to his hometown, received a copy as a reward, wicked thoughts arose within him. What matters is not whether one is from a renowned sect or not. In this world, strength is paramount. Su Ganglia's eyes gleamed with a ferocious light as he strode menacingly towards the old man. Now you have 2 choices, hand over that iron blood scripture, and I'll grant you a swift death. Otherwise, I will torture you until you comply. Fang Chen held his breath and focused his mind, his gaze calm, showing no intention of intervening. This was a dispute between 2 individuals over a treasure. How did it concern him? Moreover, this inner disciple of the giant sect was extremely powerful, his oppressive aura several times greater than that of a branch leader. There was no need for him to take such a risk. However, what made Fang Chen's heart skip a beat was his keen observation that Su Ganglai had cast a quick glance in his direction. Instantly realizing something was amiss, Su Ganglai, seemingly advancing towards the elder, suddenly flicked his foot, sending a fist-sized stone flying towards Fang Chen's location. He had been discovered. Without hesitation, Fang Chen decisively drew his wooden sword, striking the incoming stone with a single sword move, sending it flying away. A sharp pain shot through the web of his hand, and he was greatly alarmed. This person possessed immense strength, a mere stone kick from a distance carried such force. If struck at close range by a kick, a fractured bone would be a minor injury, he might even have his internal organs ruptured. Possessing some skill. Su Ganglia's eyes narrowed as he coldly watched Fang Chen slowly emerge from the rock crevice. To be able to withstand one of my attacks, you indeed possess some ability. A disciple of the Azure Cloud sect? Seeing Fang Chen's strength at such a young age, he speculated about his identity. Fang Chen, not wishing to cause trouble, said, "Yes, as for what transpired here, I saw nothing." Su Ganglai smiled, cupped his hands, and said, "Then I thank you. The 9 sects are connected by a common spirit, we are all brothers and should look out for each other." Although he spoke thus, Fang Chen did not relax his guard in the slightest, slowly retreating backward, leaving no opening for his opponent. When he finally reached the edge of the square, Su Ganglai could no longer restrain himself and sneered, "Quite cunning, aren't you?" He had no intention of letting Fang Chen leave. The old man before him was a soul master, one who had served the giant sect for many years. How could he dare let others know that he had killed the man and taken the iron blood scripture? His feigned politeness was merely a tactic to make Fang Chen drop his guard, allowing for a swift, fatal strike. He hadn't expected Fang Chen to be so cautious, offering no opportunity. Seeing Fang Chen about to leave his attack range, he could no longer hold back, revealing his true ferocious nature. As he spoke, he unleashed a sweeping attack, sending a barrage of stones, like cannonballs, hurtling. Fortunately, Fang Chen was prepared, his wooden sword swept out repeatedly, batting away the stones one by one. Seizing this opening, the seemingly clumsy Su Ganglai charged forward with astonishing speed, covering great distances like thunder. From several zhang away, he launched into a long jump, executing a Mount-High pressing down attack. Feeling the rapidly descending shadow overhead, he reacted without a moment's thought, instantly deploying his movement technique and narrowly dodging the attack. The spot where he had stood was crushed a full foot deep by Su Ganglia's massive body, with spiderweb-like cracks spreading all around. Had he been struck, death would have been certain. Fang Chen was alarmed, yet without hesitation, he spun around and thrust his sword, Lonely Star piercing the azure. However, the sword strike merely left a shallow white mark on his skin, akin to a light scrape. What an incredibly tough body! Su Ganglai burst into laughter. You think a mere wooden sword can pierce my body? Then my 10 years of indestructible Vajra cultivation would have been for naught. The old man watching from afar quickly warned, young hero, Su Ganglai practices body refining techniques, you must remember not to let him get close. Do you even need to say that? Fang Chen was speechless. He calmly executed his movement technique, consistently maintaining his distance, and once again unleashed a sword strike, 3 stars illuminating the moon. The powerful sword technique grazed his arm, yet it only left an even lighter, white mark. If that's all you've got, then you can die now. Su Ganglai sneered. Fang Chen's eyes flashed, and he suddenly roared, 7 stars facing north. The third move was the essence of the 7-star sword art, and also its most powerful technique. With a sound like tearing cloth, the wooden sword sliced open his chest, cutting through the tough skin and tearing flesh, causing blood to immediately gush forth. Su Ganglai gasped in pain. However, Fang Chen's heart sank heavily. For an ordinary person, this sword strike would have disemboweled them, but against Su Ganglai, it merely cut through a layer of flesh, not even harming the bone. This man's physique was ridiculously strong. Wiping away the bloodstain on his chest, Su Ganglai was finally enraged. You cur, how dare you injure me? With a powerful thrust of his legs, he bounded forward, pouncing, resembling a gigantic toad from a distance. Fang Chen found himself unable to evade, yet maintained his composure, once more employing the 7 stars to the north technique. Su Ganglai roared furiously, die! Disregarding the pain, he seized the wooden sword with both hands. Unbeknownst to him, Fang Chen had also been anticipating this very moment. Without a second thought, he abruptly activated the wooden sword's electrocution effect. A continuous surge of electricity instantly coursed through Su Ganglai's body. He convulsed violently, then fell stiffly from midair, lying motionless on the ground, truly resembling a toad. To Fang Chen's astonishment, the current that would typically paralyze an ordinary person for several breaths only rendered Su Ganglai rigid for a brief instant before he remarkably recovered. He rose furiously, and with a powerful wrench of both hands, snapped the wooden sword into 2 pieces, casting them savagely at Fang Chen's feet. You wretched creature, this time you are surely doomed. Having spoken, he transformed into a blur, charging towards Fang Chen. To Fang Chen, it felt as though he was being struck not by a man, but by an entire mountain. The elder cried out in despair, move quickly. He could almost envision Fang Chen's demise, a single impact would undoubtedly reduce him to a bloody mist. Fang Chen's heart was likewise filled with dread. This is my final stand, he thought. He drew the purple sword from his back with a reverse grip, without even time to remove its cloth wrapping, he unleashed a distant sword strike towards the charging Su Ganglai. His movements appeared clumsy and sluggish, eliciting laughter from Su Ganglai, who mocked, a wretch who can't even hold a sword steady. Su Ganglai suddenly froze. He realized that the distance between himself and Fang Chen had inexplicably ceased to diminish. Furthermore, within his line of sight, he witnessed a lower half of a body, severed at the waist, still propelled by momentum towards Fang Chen. Eventually, just as it neared Fang Chen, it toppled forward with a thud. Simultaneously, he himself plummeted to the ground. He cast his gaze downward at his own body, only to discover his lower half was missing. Then, the excruciating pain, delayed yet utterly agonizing, tore through him, eliciting a truly horrifying, piercing scream. Ah! My body, he shrieked. His anguish, however, was not prolonged. Without hesitation, Fang Chen thrust his sword through Su Ganglai's throat, bringing his life to an end. Even at the moment of his death, he failed to comprehend what had just transpired. What a narrow escape! Fang Chen wiped the beads of sweat from his forehead, a clear expression of relief at having survived the ordeal now evident on his face. Had it not been for acquiring the violet sword, he might have met his end here today. What a pity for the thunder-patterned spirit-wood sword! With a pang of sorrow, he picked up the wooden sword, now broken into 2 pieces. It had accompanied him for so long, helping him avert danger on multiple occasions, yet today it had been caught in the crossfire, suffering a blow for no fault of its own. The disheveled elder approached apologetically, saying, "My apologies, young hero. I didn't intentionally lead him towards you, it was purely an instinct for survival. Allow me to compensate you with some silver." Fang Chen glared at him coldly, "Who cares for your silver? My life was almost taken because of you. Is a mere apology enough?" Remembering the iron blood scripture that Su Ganglai had mentioned, he stated, "Make me a copy of the iron blood scripture, and we shall consider this matter settled." The elder's lips trembled slightly. After a brief moment of thought, he gritted his teeth and replied, "Very well. A life-saving kindness certainly warrants repayment." The reason he was unwilling to hand over the iron blood scripture to Su Ganglai was that once surrendered, he would undoubtedly face death. However, Fang Chen, standing before him, did not seem like the kind of person driven by extreme malice. He produced an iron scroll, densely carved with characters, which turned out to be a body refinement technique. Fang Chen looked over, and his pupils involuntarily contracted, a profound-grade, low-tier body refinement cultivation method. The elder squatted on the ground, copying the text, and not without a hint of pride, he said, "This is the giant sect's most formidable body refinement technique, only accessible for observation by elders and the sect master. Otherwise, why do you think Su Ganglai pursued me all the way from the giant sect into the territory of the Azure Cloud sect?" Fang Chen, however, caught the underlying meaning. "Observe? What do you mean? Is no one cultivating this body refinement technique? Is there a problem with the method itself?" Moreover, he wondered, if it was indeed the most powerful cultivation method, why was an outsider allowed to take it away? The elder's old face stiffened. This young man is truly sharp. He immediately noticed something was amiss. Therefore, he sighed helplessly, "There's no problem with the cultivation method, it's just there aren't enough resources to support its cultivation. Take a look yourself at what is required just to cultivate the first level." Fang Chen gazed intently, a peculiar expression dawning on his face. 10 level 4 spirit pills, mighty tiger pills. The elder said, "Now you know why no one cultivates this method, right? Mighty tiger pills can only be refined by a 4-star soul master. But where would one even find a 4-star soul master? Not to mention the giant sect, even the Pavilion of Heavenly Secrets doesn't have one. This cultivation method is as good as useless, it can only be admired." Recalling his ordeal of being relentlessly pursued, the elder spoke with great grievance, "I must have been senile to think of using this as compensation. It's impossible to cultivate, it brought pursuit, and I nearly lost my old life. Young man, just take it back and look at it, don't try to cultivate it. Without mighty tiger pills, any effort would be in vain." Fang Chen stroked his chin, remaining silent. Mighty tiger pills? Others couldn't refine them, but he could. He was perfectly capable of cultivating this method. Suppressing his excitement, Fang Chen nonchalantly proceeded to examine Su Ganglia's body, discovering several items. However, Su Ganglai pursued the path of body tempering, and therefore had no cultivation techniques or foundation-building elixirs. Instead, a pouch of shimmering spirit stones caught his attention. Su Ganglai was quite wealthy. He possessed 100 mid-grade spirit stones, which equated to 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. The old man glanced over, instantly swallowing with envy. Spirit stones? Fang Chen looked curiously at the old man, who in turn was momentarily stunned. "Young hero, does your Qingyun sect not use spirit stones?" Within the 9 sects, silver was no longer sufficient to appraise various high-value heavenly treasures, thus, spirit stones became the universal currency. Fang Chen uttered a sound of understanding, then tucked them into his satchel. Soon after, the old man finished transcribing the cultivation technique. After checking it, word for word, he finally put it away. "Farewell." The old man also stood up, preparing to leave, but suddenly swayed, his vision darkening before he collapsed to the ground. Fang Chen paused, asking, "What's wrong?" "It's an old ailment, nothing serious." The old man, breathing with difficulty, pulled out a bottle of medicine from his embrace. However, upon touching it, he discovered the bottom of the bottle was broken, and all the pills inside had fallen out during his escape, causing him immediate panic. Fang Chen frowned, and with the intention of seeing a good deed through to the end, stepped forward to take his pulse. He then sniffed the old man's medicine bottle, realizing the problem lay with his meridians. He searched through the old man's belongings and found the necessary ingredients. Soon after, he refined several pills, feeding one to the old man and placing the others beside him. By the time the old man awoke, Fang Chen was nowhere to be seen. "He saved me, but all my elixirs are gone. Where did he get these?" Spirit elixirs could only be refined by soul masters. At that moment, he saw the spirit pills before him, and his pupils involuntarily constricted. A supreme meridian rejuvenating pill. This could only be refined by at least a 3-star soul master. That young man was actually a 3-star soul master. He was utterly astounded beyond measure. A 3-star soul master was a prominent figure, typically found only within the Heavenly Tao Pavilion. That young man was precisely that. If he hadn't witnessed it with his own eyes, he would never have believed that a 3-star soul master could be so young. For a long time, his shock did not subside. Realizing he could not remain there, he quickly departed. As he passed by Su Gonglia's corpse, he sighed. That was a 3-star soul master, who at that level was often unfathomable. To lay hands on him truly showed a blatant disregard for one's own life. Not long after, he returned to the Qin family. Qin Changsheng, leading 1,000 clan members, knelt to respectfully welcome him, proclaiming. It turned out that he was Qin Wenyuan, the elder patriarch of the Qin family, a true 1-star soul master. There was no trace of a smile on his face. Instead, he wore a stern, dignified expression as he questioned. Why is business so dismal? What have you been doing? Before returning to the mansion, he had specifically visited various shops belonging to the Qin family, only to find that business was very poor, far worse than it had once been. Qin Changsheng tearfully lamented. They have seized more than half of our business. It is said that this soul master is even preparing to cultivate a group of soul master apprentices for the Chen family, specializing in refining low-grade foundation establishment pills, intending to cut off the Qin family's path to survival. Upon hearing this, Qin Wenyuan's expression turned grim. To cultivate soul master apprentices and cut off my Qin family's path to survival? What arrogance! I shall go and see who this formidable figure is. Qin Changsheng's heart swelled with joy, and he asked again. Qin Wenyuan's aged eyes narrowed as he said. The Liu Mansion. As soon as Fang Chen returned, he found the mansion completely renovated, with everyone bustling about. Liu Ruxue had also donned new clothes, and she, who usually went without makeup, had applied a light touch of powder to welcome the most important day of her 18 years of life. Fang Chen, puzzled, picked up a brush and wrote. Liu Ruxue originally did not want to bother with Fang Chen, but her mood was too good, and she couldn't resist showing off in front of him. Fang Chen was slightly startled and wrote. Liu Ruxue also looked perplexed. Previously, Li Qingfeng had informed them that he would arrive in 5 days, but for some unknown reason, he had suddenly changed the time and was rushing to the Liu family. After a moment's thought, she speculated. While this explanation seemed plausible, Fang Chen still found something odd about it. Which elder of the Qin sect wasn't busy with myriad affairs, with many things arranged in advance? How could their schedule be suddenly disrupted? Xiao Chen, you're back. Liu Ruxue, holding a rag, exclaimed. Fang Chen, seeing her doing the work of the house servants again, immediately became furious and wrote. Liu Ruxue glanced at Liu Ruxue nearby and whispered. Xiao Chen, honestly tell me, what exactly was that liquid you gave me? Also, what level is this new cultivation method? How did I break through again? I'm already at the 8th level of qi condensation. Her face revealed a sense of unease. This cultivation progress was simply too fast, almost as if aided by divine intervention. Fang Chen's mouth twitched. Only the silly girl in the whole world would worry about cultivating too quickly. Under the effects of the supreme qi cultivation liquid and the profound grade high-level cultivation method, it was difficult for Liu Ruxue to not progress quickly. He offered no explanation. Instead, he took out a mortal-shedding pill, handed it to her, and wrote, "Take it." Liu Ruxue, who was standing nearby, saw this and couldn't help but ask curiously, Fang Chen, what good thing did you give my sister this time? Fang Chen turned his head and handed her a note. Do you want one too? Liu Ruxue, showing much self-awareness, snorted, who cares about your things? I'm about to become a disciple of the Azure Cloud sect. What could the Azure Cloud sect possibly not have? Fang Chen wrote, that's for the best. I wouldn't give it to you anyway. Liu Ruxue was instantly so enraged that her chest heaved and she gritted her teeth. She didn't know why, but she was becoming increasingly sensitive to Fang Chen's attitude, even though she used to treat him as if he didn't exist. Liu Ruxue said, Xiao Chen, don't you have another one? Give it to your sister. Do I have to be given charity by Fang Chen again? Liu Ruxue fumed, I don't want it. It's probably not anything good anyway, and big sister, you'd best not eat it carelessly. You might upset your stomach. Liu Ruxue felt a headache coming on. She wondered what was wrong with her sister, why she always seemed to be angry with Fang Chen lately. Hadn't they gotten along well for the past 10 years, each minding their own business? Looking at the pill in her palm, she swallowed it without the slightest hesitation. Fang Chen looked at her expectantly. How do you feel? Have you noticed any changes in your body? Liu Ruxue shook her head, puzzled. No. After a moment's thought, Fang Chen understood. The mortal shedding pill improved the quality of one's spiritual root, not physical flesh. Therefore, even if there were changes, they wouldn't be perceptible in the body itself. The treasure that made the branch leader die with unclosed eyes even in his final moments surely couldn't be bad. How are your preparations going? My master will be here any moment. A clear, bright voice called from outside the door. Zhong Qizhen quickly walked in. Liu Ruyan's eyes lit up. She scurried forward and respectfully greeted, Senior Brother Zhong. Zhong Qizhen gazed at Liu Ruyan, whose face was captivating and figure alluring, and couldn't help but reveal a hint of fervent desire. When he had accompanied Li Qingfeng to Lonely Boat City to inspect Liu Ruxue, he had met Liu Ruyan once before. Even then, he had been struck by her beauty, and the memory remained fresh. Half a year had passed, and seeing her again, he was still captivated. Junior sister, are you all ready? Liu Ruyan nodded. Senior Brother Zhong, please point out any shortcomings. Zhong Qizhen's gaze swept around, and he nodded slightly. It's quite clean, there are no issues. At this moment, he noticed Fang Chen and couldn't help but ask, who is this? Liu Ruyan replied unhappily, my sister's fiancé, Fang Chen. So he's Fang Chen? A thread of hostility began to grow in his eyes. Previously, relying on Zhu Jianshan's offerings, he would receive a few fire spirit orbs each year. Now that Zhu Jianshan was dead, everything was gone. This Fang Chen was undoubtedly connected to Zhu Jianshan's death. Junior sister Ruyan, is our revered master's sacred presence something just any Tom, Dick, or Harry can behold? This Fang Chen clearly looks like an unsavory character, get him out of here. Liu Ruyan frowned. Although she disliked Fang Chen, how was he an unsavory character? Yet, considering Li Qingfeng's imminent arrival, she could only ask Fang Chen to bear with it. Fang Chen, please go to the backyard and don't come out today. Fang Chen glared at Zhong Qizhen, then left without a word. Liu Ruxue was also about to follow, but Liu Ruyan stopped her. Sister, please stay. What if Elder Li takes a liking to you? Zhong Qizhen sneered. Fang Chen is no good, and his fiancée is no better. Make her leave too. Liu Ruxue had no intention of staying in the first place. She cast a cold glance at Zhong Qizhen, then took Fang Chen's arm and left. Only then did Zhong Qizhen notice Liu Ruxue's breathtaking beauty, and couldn't help but secretly regret his words. Liu Ruyan's elder sister was even more beautiful than her? What a waste of beauty on such a crude fellow. Just then, a flying beast swooped down, landing in the center of the courtyard. Standing on it, with hands clasped behind his back, was a middle-aged man in blue robes, possessing a refined, scholarly demeanor and an aura that exuded an awe-inspiring presence. Lu Zhengyan, leading a group of clansmen, immediately stepped forward to greet him respectfully. The entire Liu family respectfully welcomes Elder Li. Li Qingfeng dismounted and quickly scanned the Liu family crowd. He paused only briefly at Liu Ruyan before his gaze moved on, focusing particularly on the female members of the Liu family. After looking around, he couldn't help but slightly frown, murmuring softly, which one is the Liu Ruxue the young sect master spoke of? Days earlier, Liu Qingxian had received an imperial decree and rushed back to Qingyun sect. Her first action was not to report to the sect master, but to find him. Li Qingfeng remembered clearly that Liu Qingxian, with an excited expression, had said there was an extremely important woman in the Liu family of Guzhou City who must be brought into Qingyun sect. With the sect master's daughter giving a personal command, how could Li Qingfeng refuse? Thus, he changed his itinerary and arrived at the Liu family earlier than planned. Under Liu Zhengyan's warm invitation, he entered the main hall and took a seat. After some pleasantries, he finally couldn't help but ask with a smile, Ruyan, please introduce all these clan members. Liu Ruyan's spirits were lifted, and the Liu family members all straightened their backs, secretly excited. Undoubtedly, Li Qingfeng also wanted to take the opportunity to assess the other Liu family members. If any caught his eye, he would bring them back to Qingyun sect as well on this trip. Liu Zhangyan was secretly thrilled and quickly said, Ruyan, quickly introduce them to Elder Li. Liu Ruyan nodded. Elder Li, these are my parents, this is my clan elder, this is my cousin Liu Shangyang, and this is my younger cousin Lu Wenqing. She introduced them one by one. Li Qingfeng patiently listened to her complete all introductions, then couldn't help but wonder, all the Lu family members are here, so why is Liu Ruxue not among them? Could there be another Lu family in Guizhou City, and I've come to the wrong place? Liu Ruyan hesitated, glancing at Zhong Qizhen, then said, reporting to elderly, I have an elder sister named Liu Ruxue. The stone in Li Qingfeng's heart was lifted. He pressed on, is she not with the family? The entire hall suddenly fell silent, and everyone uniformly looked towards Zhong Qizhen. Zhong Qizhen was stunned, she had never imagined that her master would care so much about Liu Ruxue. Under the focus of so many gazes, Zhong Qizhen dared not lie in public and could only brace herself, saying, reporting to elder, I asked her to step aside. Li Qingfeng stood up with a bang. He had never in his life seen Lu Qingxian care so much about anyone, and Lu Qingxian had uttered words that left him utterly stunned. If Liu Ruxue can be taken as a disciple, the Azure Cloud sect will become the foremost among the 9 sects in the future. Such an important disciple, yet his foolish apprentice actually made her leave. If Lu Qingxian were to know, she would surely be furious, wouldn't she? He couldn't help but become enraged, slapping him across the face and sternly rebuking him, who permitted you to send her away? You fool, get out. Zhong Qizhen trembled with fright, having been under his master's tutelage for many years, he had never seen his master display such immense anger. Daring not to delay, he quickly bowed and backed out of the main hall, leaving the Liu family residence. The people in the hall dared not even breathe loudly. Lu Zhangyan swallowed his saliva and quietly instructed, Ruyan, quickly go and invite your sister out for elderly to see. Soon after, Liu Ruxue returned with a bewildered expression, accompanied by Fang Chen. On the way, hearing Liu Ruyan explain the reason, he also wore a puzzled look, thinking, it sounds like elderly specifically came for Liu Ruxue, but she has never appeared on the Azure Cloud sect's radar. How could elderly know of her existence? Moreover, her previous strength was very ordinary, it should have been difficult for her to attract attention. Fang Chen scratched his head in confusion, then a thought struck him, could it be that someone is interested in her beauty? Upon closer consideration, this seemed the most plausible. No, I must also find a way to enter the Azure Cloud sect. Fang Chen murmured, filled with worry. With Liu Ruxue's arrival, the smile on Li Qingfeng's face deepened, becoming exceptionally warm and amicable. You are Liu Ruxue? This attitude made Liu Ruyan, standing nearby, feel a pang of disappointment. Li Qingfeng had never been so cordial to her, why did he seem exceptionally concerned about her sister? She thought, seriously, I'm the legitimate, preordained disciple, aren't I? Liu Ruxue, her small hands nervously unsure where to rest, stammered, yes, I am Liu Ruxue. With a curious gaze, Li Qingfeng said gently, don't be nervous. I have come to take you as my disciple. Are you willing to join my sect? Every single person in the hall, without exception, was utterly stunned. Just a single meeting, a name asked, no spiritual root detected, no cultivation level examined, and she was taken as a disciple just like that? Lu Zhangyan was initially greatly astonished, then quickly became overjoyed. He quickly urged, Ruxue, quickly acknowledge him as your master. Both his daughters joining the Azure Cloud sect, what an incredibly glorious achievement. However, Liu Ruyan felt an imbalance in her heart, thinking, why is this happening? She was a favored child of heaven, only gaining recognition after numerous assessments. Yet her sister merely showed up and was immediately accepted as a disciple. The stark disparity made her heart ache. As Liu Ruxue stood at a loss, Fang Chen patted her shoulder, happily giving her an encouraging look. He had always worried that Liu Ruxue wouldn't be able to enter the Azure Cloud sect, but unexpectedly, elderly had accepted her directly. Only then did Liu Ruxue hastily kneel down to perform the apprenticeship ceremony. Li Qingfeng smiled and gently helped her up, saying, there's no need for such formality. Sincerity is all that's required for apprenticeship, there's no need for so many elaborate rituals. Liu Ruxue respectfully said, Master Li. Li Qingfeng laughed heartily, stroking his beard, and from his embrace, produced a bracelet that faintly emitted a spiritual glow, revealing it to be a magical artifact. This is your master's welcome gift. Take it. Liu Ruxue joyfully accepted it, saying, thank you, master, thank you, master. This scene made Liu Ruyan feel even more uncomfortable. Lu Zhangyan, observing this, said, elderly, it's time for my younger daughter to formally become your disciple, isn't it? Previously, she was only implicitly designated as a disciple, but since the day for Qingyun's sect to recruit disciples had not yet arrived, she hadn't been formally accepted. Now, the time was right. Li Qingfeng seemed to only just remember Liu Ruyan, and subtly nodded, saying, "Ruyan, you should also perform the apprenticeship ceremony." Liu Ruyan, delighted, bowed respectfully, imitating her elder sister. Unexpectedly, Li Qingfeng furrowed his brow. Liu Zhangyan, who was good at reading expressions, saw his face suddenly change and quickly poured a cup of tea, handing it to Liu Ruyan, then admonished her, "Elderly holds such a revered status, quickly kneel and offer the apprenticeship tea." But when my sister became a disciple, it wasn't like this. Why is it different for me? She bit her red lip slightly. Taking the tea, she respectfully knelt on the ground, performing 3 kowtows and 9 bows as she offered the tea, saying, "Please drink the tea, master." Only then did Li Qingfeng nod, taking the tea and sipping it lightly, saying, "From today onwards, you are my disciple. Rise." Liu Ruyan rose and stood to the side, but after a long wait, she still did not receive a welcome gift like her sisters. Feeling deeply wronged, she wondered, why is this happening? Hadn't Li Qingfeng come specifically to take her as a disciple? Why did it seem as though he had come for her sister, and she was merely an afterthought? Li Qingfeng's gaze flickered between the two sisters before he said, "My disciples are divided into true disciple and inner disciple. As the name suggests, true disciples will receive more personal instruction from me. As for inner disciples, I will provide you with sufficient resources, but your cultivation will depend more on your individual effort. Each year, I can only accept one true disciple." This made Liu Ruyan feel a little better, as she was, after all, the true disciple who had already been implicitly designated. So Li Qingfeng paused, then said, "This year, I will accept Liu Ruxue as a true disciple." "Liu Ruyan, you will have to bear with being an inner disciple for now, your master will change you to a true disciple next year." "What?" Liu Ruyan could not believe her ears. "Master, weren't you planning for me to be the true disciple all along? How did it end up going to my sister?" Regarding Liu Qingxian's matter, he found it inconvenient to disclose, and could only tactfully say, "Some things, your master cannot explicitly state, but I can tell you that your elder sister is more suitable to be a true disciple than you are." Seeing Liu Ruyan's eyes redden with grievance, he comforted her, saying, "This is how it will be, you will be an inner disciple in name, but in reality, I will treat you as a true disciple. Besides, you are sisters, not outsiders. Why fuss over a title?" Liu Ruyan's eyes grew redder. If it were in the past, she might not have cared, after all, they were sisters. But now, she glanced at Fang Chen, and even though Fang Chen's face was devoid of expression, she felt certain that he was gloating inwardly, ridiculing her. Being a true disciple had always been her pride, her glory, her capital to boast about in front of Fang Chen. Now, this honor had been bestowed upon someone else. In Fang Chen's eyes, she must surely be a joke. She had to reclaim it. "Master, I object." Liu Ruyan gritted her teeth and said, "Why should elder sister be a true disciple? You haven't even tested her spiritual root." Liu Ruxue also felt extremely guilty. She quickly said, "Master, please give the true disciple position to younger sister instead. What virtue or ability do I possess to be worthy of being a true disciple? To even become an inner disciple is already a stroke of heaven's luck." Li Qingfeng also had a headache. Given Liu Ruyan's aptitude, becoming a true disciple would be no problem, but Liu Ruxue was personally chosen by the sect master's daughter, how could he dare to slight her? At this moment, Fang Chen stepped forward and showed Li Qingfeng a note. "Elderly, shouldn't Liu Ruxue's spiritual root be tested?" Liu Ruxue urgently tugged at Fang Chen's sleeve. "What are you doing? I can't bear such shame. How can a mere second-grade spiritual root aptitude be presented?" Fang Chen, however, smiled and asserted, "I believe Ruxue has the qualifications to become a true disciple." A hint of confidence exuded from his words. The mortal shedding pill, which the branch head had spent over a decade seeking in vain, couldn't possibly only elevate one's grade, could it? Liu Ruxue's spiritual root at this moment was at least 4th grade or higher, not far from Liu Ruyan's, and more than sufficient for her to serve as a true disciple. "Oh," Li Qingfeng said, giving Fang Chen a strange look, then glancing at the resolute Liu Ruyan. After a moment of contemplation, he added, "Very well, Liu Ruxue's spiritual root must be tested eventually. We might as well do it publicly now." He pulled out a palm-sized disc and said, Liu Ruxue, place your palm upon it and your spiritual root grade will appear. Liu Ruxue's face involuntarily flushed, and she said with difficulty, Master, my spiritual root is very low. Li Qingfeng said, it doesn't matter. No matter how low it is, you are still my disciple. With no other choice, she braced herself and stepped forward, pressing her small hand onto the disc, her face filled with dejection. She could already imagine the awkward scene when her second-grade spiritual root was revealed. Liu Ruyan, on the other hand, stared intently at the disc. She wanted to see what excuse Li Qingfeng would have to keep Liu Ruxue as a true disciple if she tested as having a second-grade spiritual root. Wow, the disc spun for a moment, then quickly stopped and projected a beam of light, which formed a clear line of text suspended in midair, 7th-grade spiritual root. With a sudden start, Li Qingfeng abruptly sat up from his chair, his aged eyes shining brightly as he exclaimed, a 7th-grade spiritual root? Liu Ruxue, you've surprised your master beyond measure. He had initially assumed Liu Ruxue's aptitude would be quite poor, but the result was surprisingly 1 grade higher than Liu Ruyan's 6th-grade spiritual root. The members of the Liu family were also utterly astonished, letting out loud exclamations of surprise. Liu Ruxue herself was stunned, her face blank. Little Chen, what's going on? All these changes in me must be because of you, Fang Chen. Is it those mysterious liquids, or the spiritual pill I just took? Retreating rapidly, Liu Ruyan stumbled backward, her beautiful face instantly turning pale. She shook her head in disbelief, unable to accept it. Impossible. Impossible. This is impossible. How could you possibly have a 7th-grade spiritual root? Liu Ruxue, somewhat frightened by her frenzied state, stepped back behind Fang Chen. This made Liu Ruyan notice Fang Chen. Recalling her sister's transformation, which began precisely when she and Fang Chen became betrothed, Liu Ruyan surmised what was happening. She had more than once secretly witnessed Fang Chen slipping mysterious liquids to Liu Ruxue, and just now, that clearly precious spiritual elixir kept in a jade box. It was Fang Chen, it must have been Fang Chen who brought about these changes in her sister, turning a sister with a mere 2nd-grade spiritual root into someone who now surpassed her. Realizing everything, Liu Ruyan broke down, tears that had long been brewing in her eyes falling like rain. Fang Chen, why would you do this to me? Why? After asking 3 times, she ran out, weeping. Fang Chen looked speechless, muttering, what have I done to you? How inexplicable. Liu Ruxue, however, looked ashamed. Understanding her sister's feelings, she sighed softly, she doesn't blame you, she blames herself for pushing you towards me. Everything I have today should have been hers. Fang Chen suddenly understood but gently shook his head, lightly putting an arm around her shoulder. There's no need to blame yourself, everything was her own choice. Li Qingfeng observed their relationship, frowning slightly. He said, Liu Ruxue, I, your master, still need to search for that 9th-grade spiritual root in the city. Prepare yourself well these next few days, once I find this person, you will return with me to Qingyun's sect. Liu Ruxue's heart tightened. She looked at Fang Chen beside her and asked, Master, could you also accept Fang Chen as a disciple? Li Qingfeng scrutinized Fang Chen for a moment, then said, First, let's test his aptitude. If it's acceptable, I can consider taking him as a disciple. He handed the disc to Fang Chen. Fang Chen took it and unhesitatingly channeled spiritual energy into it. He was a little worried, this disc was clearly less sensitive than the bronze ruler for testing, so would it fail again? As if anticipating his fear, soon, the words no spiritual root were projected into the air. Li Qingfeng shook his head and said, It's regrettable, but even as an elder of the sect, I have no authority to admit someone without a spiritual root into the mountain gate. Liu Ruxue anxiously interjected, but Fang Chen has cultivation. Oh, Li Qingfeng said, a look of surprise in his eyes as he stroked his beard. No spiritual root, yet capable of cultivating? Such a thing? Unheard of. Lu Zhangyan also quickly added, elderly, it's absolutely true. Fang Chen has not only achieved cultivation but quite a profound level at that. Profound? Li Qingfeng merely smiled. In his eyes, only those above the foundation establishment realm could barely be considered true cultivators, the qi condensation realm was merely child's play. How far could someone without a spiritual root go? At most, they might have accidentally achieved qi condensation 3rd or 4th stage by consuming some rare natural treasures. However, to make Liu Ruxue give up hope, he nodded and said, "Very well, I will give Fang Chen a chance to demonstrate his cultivation." Liu Zhangyan excitedly urged, "Fang Chen, give it your all." After all these events, he had complete trust in Fang Chen. He couldn't be at ease entrusting his daughter to anyone else, only to Fang Chen was he completely assured. Therefore, it would be for the best if Fang Chen could join the Qingyun sect. Liu Ruxue was also so nervous that she clutched the hem of her skirt, even more anxious than when her own spiritual root was being tested. Fang Chen also took a deep breath, knowing that the moment to decide his fate had arrived. If he couldn't enter the Qingyun sect, it was likely that he would have little future prospects in this life, and even less able to accompany Liu Ruxue on her journey forward. Therefore, he held nothing back and publicly released the immense spiritual energy of a foundation establishment third-stage cultivator. Li Qingfeng observed impassively, already formulating in his mind how to phrase things so that he could both dispel Fang Chen's desire to enter the Qingyun sect and ensure Liu Ruxue would not be too upset, willingly returning with him to the Qingyun sect. Suddenly, a surge of spiritual energy from the foundation establishment realm startled him. Tracing the source of the energy, he stood up in astonishment. Foundation establishment third stage. A person without a spiritual root, capable of cultivating to foundation establishment third stage? He couldn't help but wonder if the disc was faulty, misidentifying his aptitude. Such a young foundation establishment third stage cultivator would be considered a top-tier prodigy even within the Qingyun sect. He took out a new disc and said expectantly, "Please test your spiritual root again." Fang Chen nodded, his face filled with anticipation as he prepared for another test. Yet, the result remained the same, no spirit root. Li Qingfeng stared at those three characters, pondering for a long time, unable to comprehend how Fang Chen had broken through to such a high realm. Could it be some legendary, extremely potent sinister elixirs, or a method that overdraws one's potential? After much thought, this was the only plausible explanation. Such a deviant path, predicated on sacrificing one's life, carried severe drawbacks. He immediately abandoned the idea of taking Fang Chen as his disciple. However, Liu Ruxue pleaded, "Master, Fang Chen's kindness to me is as vast as a mountain. If he cannot join the Qingyun sect, then neither shall I." Li Qingfeng, helpless, deliberated and then proposed a compromise, stating, "Very well, I will give Fang Chen another chance. Before we depart, I will have my disciple Zhong Qizhen assess his strength. If he can withstand 10 moves from Zhong Qizhen, then he shall be deemed worthy of entering the Qingyun sect." Liu Ruxue's face instantly paled. Zhong Qizhen was an old disciple under Li Qingfeng for many years, his cultivation having reached the 4th level of foundation establishment, and the cultivation techniques he practiced were far superior to the middle-tier yellow-rank techniques found in Longboat City. Fang Chen's realm was inferior, and his techniques were even more so. Even 3 moves would be extremely difficult for him, let alone 10. It was clear that Li Qingfeng had no intention of allowing Fang Chen to enter the Qingyun sect. Fang Chen, however, brightened with joy. No matter how difficult, it was at least a rare opportunity. He quickly raised his brush and wrote, "I accept the challenge." Li Qingfeng smiled and nodded, "Good. If you fail, do not blame this elder for not giving you a chance. At the same time, I hope you will persuade Liu Ruxue not to let fleeting emotions hinder her lifelong cultivation." Fang Chen nodded and wrote, "Understood." After Li Qingfeng departed with a smile, he went in search of a 9th-grade spirit root. Liu Ruxue, however, stomped her foot in distress. "Shao Chen, how could you agree? Zhong Qizhen's cultivation is so profound, how can you possibly hope to withstand 10 of his moves?" Fang Chen recalled the high-grade black-rank palm technique, roaming dragon palm, which he had not yet had a chance to practice, and a flicker of confidence appeared in his eyes. "With just 3 days, I am confident I can contend with him." He spoke of contending, not merely enduring 10 moves. Liu Ruxue could not believe it inside. "Then you must find a way to get along well with Zhong Qizhen. Hopefully, he will go a little easy during the assessment." Fang Chen outwardly agreed, but as soon as he stepped out, he prepared to head to the Ascension Dragon Path. To quickly master palm techniques, practical combat was naturally the best method. Unexpectedly, just as he reached the main entrance, he saw Zhong Qizhen, his face still bearing the faint imprint of a slap and filled with annoyance. "Why did you hide the matter concerning Liu Ruxue and cause me to be slapped by master? You did it on purpose, didn't you?" Fang Chen looked bewildered, then raised his brush and wrote, "Who was it, with nostrils flared, who immediately wanted to kick my wife and me out without a word? No one forced you to do that, did they?" You get slapped and don't look for your own reasons, but blame others instead? No wonder your master called you foolish. Zhong Qizhen, enraged, clenched his fists and shouted, "How preposterous! How dare you speak to me like that?" Fang Chen showed no fear. "Want to fight me? Who's afraid of whom?" Zhong Qizhen genuinely wished to pin him to the ground and give him a severe beating, but having just incurred his master's wrath, he dared not act wildly at the Liu family's doorstep. He glared hatefully at Fang Chen. "Once I'm done with my blind date and handle my affairs, I'll deal with you properly." Fang Chen's eyes showed contemplation. "A blind date?" Speaking of which, Chen Xiling also had a blind date recently, and Chen Yuqiu even asked him to vet it. Why were so many people going on blind dates lately? Without further thought, he turned and headed straight for the ascension path. To avoid trouble, he still put on the mask of Shadowguard number 1. He rushed in and ascended all the way up, and upon reaching the 9th level, he suddenly heard a strange low shout in his ear, "Fang Chen! I'll kill you! I'll tear you limb from limb! I'll chop you to death!" Startled, he quickly withdrew from the illusion. Looking closely, Liu Ruxue stood on the 9th level with a tear-streaked face, fighting relentlessly against Chen Zhengdao's projection within the illusion, yet continuously muttering Fang Chen's name. Is she mad? Fang Chen's face darkened with exasperation. How could Chen Zhengdao's phantom be so easily broken? Before long, she was defeated and forced to withdraw. With reddened eyes, she was about to rush back into the fight when she suddenly noticed someone standing beside her. Turning her head, the mask inscribed with the character 1 came into view, and she immediately showed a look of surprise and delight. But remembering the words she had been muttering, her face instantly flushed red. You heard all that?" Fang Chen's mouth twitched slightly. "I'm not deaf. I won't interfere in your affairs," he said casually. Liu Ruxue quickly explained, "There's nothing between him and me, don't misunderstand." She was so nervous she didn't know what to say. Meeting Shadowguard number 1 again was something she had never expected, but to meet under such circumstances was truly embarrassing. Seeing her still tear-streaked, Fang Chen pondered, "Do you wish to cultivate movement techniques?" Ever since he obtained the jade bead and discovered cultivation methods from it, along with the astonishing gains beneath the stone statue, he felt a certain guilt. These treasures were originally left for Liu Ruxue by that esteemed master, yet he had taken them all. Perhaps teaching her movement techniques would be a way to compensate. Liu Ruxue's face suddenly flushed crimson. "You'll teach me movement techniques? Really?" Fang Chen said no more. He took her hand and closed his eyes. Liu Ruxue's heart instantly pounded faster, her face turning crimson, her lips pressed tightly together in embarrassment. She also closed her eyes, and the two simultaneously entered the illusion where Chen Zhengdao resided. Fang Chen said, "I will impart to you the solitary swan shadow glide. It has many difficult points, observe and learn diligently." He taught her hands-on, and Liu Ruxue, being very perceptive, showed improvement after half a day. "First, complete this portion of your practice. Tomorrow, I will return to continue teaching you." Having said this, he then proceeded to the 12th level for a challenge. The projection here was even stronger, though also at the 3rd level of foundation establishment, it actually suppressed Fang Chen, defeating him in just over 100 moves. This was because Fang Chen deliberately refrained from using his purple sword and movement techniques, instead focusing solely on cultivating and refining his dragon roaming palm. As dusk approached, he walked back with his weary body. Passing by the treasure pavilion, he saw a sign recruiting soul master apprentices at the entrance, which reminded him of an important promise he had forgotten. He immediately hurried to the Chen family. Of course, he didn't forget to change his attire. Soon, in the Chen family's backyard, Chen Xiling respectfully said, "Senior, all the eligible apprentices we've recently recruited are here." Fang Chen scanned them one by one. When his gaze fell upon a neatly dressed, kindly-faced elder, he was slightly taken aback. He couldn't shake the feeling that this old man looked familiar, as if he had seen him somewhere before. "What is your name?" Fang Chen asked. Qin Wenyuan showed a respectful expression and smiled, saying, "To answer Sir Mu, my name is Huang Wenyuan." Huang Wenyuan? Fang Chen pondered the name. He did not recall knowing this person, so why did he seem familiar? Never mind, it doesn't matter. Among these individuals, who do you find most suitable? Fang Chen inquired. Chen Siling pointed to Huang Wenyuan, stating, "This elder gentleman once worked as an assistant for a soul master apprentice in another region for several years. He is thoroughly familiar with various materials and well-versed in the alchemy process." Fang Chen nodded, saying, "Very well, come forward. I will instruct you first." Huang Wenyuan repeatedly cupped his hands, a look of pleasant surprise on his face. "Thank you, sir, thank you, sir." Yet, he sneered inwardly. He was eager to see what formidable figure the Chen family had invited. If they intended to cut off the Qin family's livelihood, they would first have to ask if he, Qin Wenyuan, would permit it. Fang Chen explained, "The reason ordinary people cannot become soul masters is due to their insufficient soul strength. However, according to my method, I can enable you to utilize faint soul power for rudimentary purification of materials, thus achieving the goal of refining low-grade chi-refining fluid." Huang Wenyuan appeared deferential, saying, "I humbly await your guidance, elder." Fang Chen nodded and then proceeded to instruct Huang Wenyuan using the methods described in the Tai Soul Art. Soon after, Fang Chen expressed slight surprise, "You've mastered it so quickly?" Witnessing Huang Wenyuan skillfully refine a bottle of low-grade chi-refining fluid, he exclaimed, "You possess a significant talent for alchemy." Huang Wenyuan forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes, replying, "My talent is merely average, it's something easily achieved by a soul master apprentice. To be frank, what Sir has taught me is not as profound as what I learned previously." Upon hearing these words, several candidates cast doubtful glances towards Fang Chen. Fang Chen detected the provocative undertone and narrowed his eyes slightly. "It seems you are not entirely convinced by me." Huang Wenyuan cupped his hands and stated, "As the saying goes, hearing is not as good as seeing. As I have not witnessed Sir's prowess, how can I be convinced?" He utterly refused to believe that the small town of Guizhou would have a 3-star soul master presiding over it. Such formidable individuals were all figures who dominated their fields. Why would they remain in Guizhou, training soul master apprentices for the minor Chen family? Fang Chen glanced at him, then at the restless candidates, and indifferently remarked, "Very well, I shall refine a bottle of chi-refining fluid." Huang Wenyuan's expression was a subtle mix of a smile and no smile. He had been waiting for this very moment. He intended to use his decades of accumulated professional knowledge to find fault with Fang Chen. If this person proved inferior to him, then Fang Chen would have only himself to blame for a humiliating defeat. Even if he was slightly stronger, it wouldn't matter. Which soul master didn't have incurable flaws? He would meticulously pick faults, render the opponent utterly useless, and ensure that the soul master apprentice plan collapsed on its own. Fang Chen wasted no words and skillfully picked up the materials. At his current level, he was supremely proficient, requiring no alchemy furnace. He began the purification directly in his palm. Seeing this posture, Huang Wenyuan burst into laughter. "No alchemy furnace, and you call this alchemy? For alchemy, at the very least, one needs a vessel for refining, no? Refining directly in the palm is simply unheard of. Dust, odors, sweat, and other impurities on human hands would all affect the efficacy of the materials, ultimately leading to a degraded chi-refining fluid or even complete failure." The fact that this person refined the chi-refining fluid by hand allowed Huang Wenyuan to secretly relax. What kind of important figure was this? Merely a charlatan seeking fame. He clearly knew nothing about alchemy. However, gradually, Huang Wenyuan's smile faded. The materials in Fang Chen's palm became increasingly transparent, resembling ice sculptures. As his palm's spiritual energy vibrated, the transparent materials shattered into fragments, their essence squeezed out and dripping, while the dross was flung away. With his other hand, Fang Chen picked up a jade bottle and effortlessly collected all the liquid. In mere moments, a perfectly transparent chi-refining fluid, completely free of impurities, materialized. Huang Wenyuan gasped sharply, premium chi-refining fluid. This could only be refined by a 4-star soul master. The person before them was not only not the legendary 3-star soul master, but actually a 4-star soul master. He finally understood that the reason the other party did not use an alchemy furnace was not because he didn't know how to refine elixirs. Rather, for a low-grade spiritual liquid like the Qi cultivation liquid, he no longer needed a furnace. He could produce a top-grade product with his bare hands. Fang Chen glanced at him guardedly, then indifferently asked, "Any more questions?" Huang Wenyuan's body trembled. Before him was a 4-star soul master, a 4-star. A supreme being that even the celestial secret pavilion did not possess. How could he, of all people, be so fortunate as to encounter such a divine presence? He immediately dropped to his knees with a thud. Your junior greets the senior. Fang Chen then looked at the other candidates. What about you? Any more doubts? With a bottle of top-grade qi cultivation liquid right before your eyes, who still dares to question his abilities? Even Chen Xiling's eyes widened in wonder. Fang Chen had always provided the Chen family with high-grade qi cultivation liquid, leading them to mistakenly believe he was a 3-star soul master. In reality, he had been hiding his true strength, which only deepened her reverence for him. Ruxue is truly fortunate, stumbling upon such a husband by chance. She sighed softly, then thought of the blind date she was about to face, and her clear eyes dimmed. The rest was much simpler. Under his one-on-one guidance, the few candidates quickly got the hang of it. Huang Wenyuan respectfully stood by, serving with the courtesy of a disciple, assisting Fang Chen in teaching the several candidates. Inadvertently, Huang Wenyuan noticed a long sword tucked behind Fang Chen's back, completely wrapped in cloth strips. Only one small gap was visible, and upon closer inspection, a strange purple light emanated from it. A sword with purple light. Boom! Huang Wenyuan's mind rumbled, and he instantly remembered the 3-star soul master in Floating Cloud Cave who had refined the top-grade tendon-connecting pill for him. It's him! The person who saved me is none other than this senior before my eyes. I should have realized sooner. How could a small city like Loneboat City have so many 3-star and 4-star soul masters? They are all the same person. Thinking of Fang Chen's 18-year-old appearance, Huang Wenyuan was filled with even more admiration and awe, to possess such mastery at such a young age. Given time, wouldn't his achievements surpass the heavens? By nightfall, Fang Chen had finished coaching everyone and said, from now on, you will all follow the Chen family's arrangements. If there's anything you don't understand, I will come back to guide you. With that, he strode away. Huang Wenyuan quickly bowed and served him all the way out of the Chen family residence, watching him disappear into the vast sea of people. This scene left Qin Changsheng, who was secretly observing outside the Chen family's gate, dumbfounded. Old master, what are you doing? Qin Wenyuan then straightened his back and said, can't you see? Naturally, I am serving the senior. Qin Changsheng said in surprise, old master, weren't you going to reprimand this person? How did you end up becoming the junior yourself after the reprimand? Qin Wenyuan's old face flushed, and he immediately reprimanded, you scoundrel. I haven't even settled accounts with you yet. I just subtly inquired with the Chen family, and it turns out this supreme 4-star soul master is helping the Chen family precisely because you offended him, leading him to assist the Chen family in collapsing our Qin family. You beast. I told you to foster good relations with people and never offend anyone, but you, of all people, chose to offend the one person you absolutely shouldn't have. Let's move out tonight. Our Qin family can no longer stay in Lone Boat City. Thinking that his family had actually offended a formidable 4-star soul master, his limbs grew cold, and he dared not remain in Lone Boat City for another moment. Qin Changsheng looked bewildered. I haven't offended anyone? Ah! He instantly thought of Fang Chen, but Fang Chen was merely a good-for-nothing, completely unrelated to a 4-star soul master. Thinking of him, Qin Changsheng's eyes hardened. Old master, before we leave, can we teach that Fang Chen a lesson? He embellished the story of Fang Chen crippling and injuring members of the Qin family. After listening, Qin Wenyuan snorted, even if my Qin family is in decline, we are not to be humiliated by a live-in son-in-law of the Liu family. First, let's go back and gather our belongings, then we'll settle accounts with him. The next day, Fang Chen once again went to the ascending dragon path to refine his movement technique. Liu Ruxue had been waiting for a long time, her fair cheeks tinged with a faint blush, her eyes holding a touch of anticipation and a hint of shyness. Go in, Fang Chen said expressionlessly, continuing to teach her the movement technique through Chen Zhengdao's projection. Half a day later, having instructed her for the better part, he entered the 12th level to cultivate the Wandering Dragon Palm. After 2 days of cultivation, his first level was nearing completion. With one more day of refinement, it would be fully mastered. He eagerly anticipated whether, upon mastering it, he could compete with Zhong Qizhen to see the true power of the Wandering Dragon Palm. Dragging his weary body home, he saw from afar a beautiful woman, holding a dim yellow lantern, eagerly awaiting his return. Ruxue, Fang Chen said, seeing no one around, and affectionately put his arm around her shoulder. Liu Ruxue, however, had a complex expression and said, Chen Xiling has been here. Fang Chen uttered a no, thinking she must have come to congratulate Liu Ruxue on becoming Li Qingfang's disciple. She was looking for you. Liu Ruxue stared at Fang Chen, her eyes filled with a hint of resentment. Fang Chen was puzzled. Looking for me? Liu Ruxue said, when did your relationship become so close? She's meeting someone for a blind date and actually needs you to vet him. So it was about this. Fang Chen explained with a mix of truth and falsehood, it was Clan Master Chen who requested it. I once helped him with a favor, which made him think I was very reliable. So it was Chen Xiling's father who arranged it. Liu Ruxue's mood then improved, and she said, no wonder, you are now at the third level of Foundation establishment, one of the top experts in Lonely Boat City. It makes sense for you to go and vet him. After a moment's thought, she said, tomorrow, I'll go with you. I also want to know what Chen Xiling's fiancé is like, and if he's better than you. Does this also need comparing? A woman's desire to win is truly everywhere. At dawn, Fang Chen and Liu Ruxue hurried towards the Chen family estate. Along the way, they passed a shop selling high-end gifts. Since Clan Master Chen had personally invited them, going empty-handed would be inappropriate. Liu Ruxue called for the carriage to stop. You wait in the carriage, I'll go buy some gifts. Dressed in a simple yet elegant turquoise gown, she was as refreshing as a summer lotus leaf. Her fair skin and enchanting beauty drew the gaze of the customers in the shop. Ah, junior sister Ruxue. Liu Ruxue looked up and saw Zhong Qizhen, Li Qingfeng's disciple and the very person Fang Chen was about to challenge. Fang Chen's entry into the Azure Cloud sect hinged entirely on his encounter with this person. She dared not be negligent and performed a respectful curtsy, senior brother Zhong. Gazing at her gentle and moving appearance, Zhong Qizhen's face burned with passion. He stepped forward to take her hand, saying, junior sister Ruxue, there's no need to be so formal. Liu Ruxue was startled. Just as he was about to grasp her hand, she quickly dodged away, a hint of panic in her expression. Senior brother Zhong, men and women should not touch, moreover, I am already betrothed. Zhong Qizhen immediately became displeased. He said, that Fang Chen? He's merely a good-for-nothing. Junior sister, as stunningly beautiful as you are, don't you feel wronged marrying him? I heard you were forced. How about this, I, your senior brother, will make the decision for you and dissolve your engagement. As he spoke, he moved closer again. Hearing his disparaging remarks, Liu Ruxue felt disgust in her heart. However, knowing that Fang Chen's fate depended on this person, she could only suppress her anger and whispered, senior brother, Fang Chen and I are deeply in love, there's no question of being wronged or not. Please stop saying such things. Zhong Qizhen's eyes narrowed, and he began to show impatience. Junior sister. To be honest, I fell in love with you at first sight. Coincidentally, I am looking for a companion in the sect, are you willing? Even though he knew she had a fiancé, he still made such an absurd request. She angrily flung her sleeve and departed, saying, I have other matters to attend to, I must take my leave. She didn't want to be with Zhong Qizhen at all, but unexpectedly, Zhong Qizhen said coldly, do you still want Fang Chen to pass the assessment? Whether he can enter the Qingyun sect depends on my will. If I go easy on him, perhaps he can pass. If I were serious, do you think with his meager strength he could withstand 10 moves from me? Liu Ruxue suddenly stopped, looking at him with ingrained anger. Senior brother Zhong, what exactly do you want? Zhong Qizhen's gaze roamed freely over her graceful figure, and he said heatedly, if you accompany me for a bit now, I can guarantee I'll go easy on Fang Chen. He played a word game, only promising to go easy, but not guaranteeing that Fang Chen would pass the assessment. Liu Ruxue felt deeply humiliated and stood up to leave. Zhong Qizhen, however, sneered, dare to step out of this shop? I will immediately crush all of Fang Chen's hopes. Liu Ruxue walked to the shop's entrance but dared not go any further. Seeing the beauty intimidated into immobility by him, a sinister desire surged within Zhong Qizhen. Smiling, he stepped forward, extending his hands to embrace Liu Ruxue from behind. But suddenly, Liu Ruxue sharply darted forward, leaving his arms empty. Upon closer inspection, it was Fang Chen who had pulled Liu Ruxue away, holding her in his arms. At the same time, Fang Chen kicked a thorny fruit into Zhong Qizhen's hand. Hiss! He failed to embrace her, instead ending up with a handful of thorns, hissing in pain. You! Zhong Qizhen furiously pulled out the thorns, which, being sharp, drew a few streaks of crimson blood. Fang Chen's eyes narrowed slightly, and he waved his brush, asking, what is your strength? Unclear, but the person is quite rotten. Zhong Qizhen snorted, what are you? Do you even qualify to judge me? Don't forget, your destiny is in my hands. Now, kneel and admit your mistake. I can still consider going easy when the time comes. Fang Chen, however, remained unafraid. He wrote, then don't go easy, winning would be meaningless. Zhong Qizhen was extremely vexed and laughed angrily, fine, you said it. Don't blame me when I defeat you in a single move. Fang Chen turned his back to him and walked away, embracing Liu Ruxue. At the Chen family residence, Chen Yuqiu was exceptionally pleased by their arrival, but Chen Xiling, on the other hand, was restless, sighing repeatedly. Especially seeing Fang Chen and Liu Ruxue sitting side by side, a perfect match of handsome talent and beautiful appearance, her heart sank even further. Chen Yuqiu discerned her thoughts and said, what is destined to be yours will eventually be yours, do not force what is not. Your other half is actually not bad either. He is an inner disciple of the Qingyun sect, a favored student of elderly, and comes from a prominent family in Bilia City, making him a suitable match for you. Hearing this, a bitter feeling arose in Chen Xiling's heart. How could she not understand that she was unworthy of Fang Chen? Yet, people always tend to compare. If Fang Chen's fiancée had been an extraordinary woman she admired, she would have accepted her fate. But it was her good friend, Liu Ruxue, who once had a life far less fortunate than her own. She only hoped that Zhong Qizhen would not be too far inferior to Fang Chen. At this moment, the steward, leading a person, strode in with his head held high. Master, young Master Zhong has arrived. Fang Chen couldn't help but sit up straight, curiously observing the newcomer. The Chen family possessed deep foundations and a vast estate. Chen Xiling herself was exquisitely refined, possessed unique business acumen, and was a beauty endowed with both grace and wisdom. Her fiancé, therefore, must also be exceptionally outstanding. With just one glance, he was stunned. Liu Ruxue, beside him, was equally bewildered. The arriving guest was none other than Zhong Qizhen. With a genial smile on his face, he stepped into the main hall carrying a large box of lavish gifts. Uncle Chen. Observing the dignified-looking Zhong Qizhen, Chen Yuqiu nodded slightly in satisfaction. Lu Qin, filled with joy, exclaimed, Dear, didn't I tell you young Master Zhong is excellent? He's handsome, modest, and courteous, clearly a gentleman. His family background, cultivation, and sect are all top-tier choices. Zhong Qizhen feigned modesty, uncle and aunt are too kind. May I ask which one is Sister Xiling? Following Lu Qin's gaze, a beautiful young woman entered his sight, adorned in a pink dress, with a pear blossom hairpin, and hair flowing like a waterfall. Her delicate and beautiful face, flawless and supple skin, and the alluring curves that even her dress could not conceal, all made Zhong Qizhen's eyes light up. He had initially been quite resistant to this marriage proposal, but now he wished to accept it immediately. Such a beautiful woman is truly rare. Lu Qin asked expectantly, Young Master Zhong, what do you think of my daughter? Zhong Qizhen secretly swallowed, not stinting on his praise, and said, Sister Xiling is an unparalleled beauty, gentle and serene. I am very fond of her. Internally, he did not believe the Chen family was worthy of him. Who was he? A disciple of Qingyun Peak, with boundless potential for the future. Was a mere Chen family even fit to form a marital alliance with him? However, since the Chen family was offering such a beautiful daughter to him for a few days, it would be foolish not to enjoy her. Once he grew tired, he could simply cast her aside. What could the Chen family possibly do to him then? Hearing such an appraisal, Lu Qin secretly rejoiced, knowing that the marriage could now be settled. As for Chen Xiling's opinion, she simply ignored it. In a prominent family like the Chens, the children's marriages were not their own to decide. She winked at Chen Yuqiu, signaling him to make the final decision. Chen Yuqiu, however, looked at Chen Xiling with a hint of shame, seeing her with her head bowed and her red lips tightly bitten, unable to make up her mind. He couldn't help but look at Fang Chen and asked, Young Master Fang, what do you think? Before making a decision, let's hear what Fang Chen has to say. If even Fang Chen approved of this man and deemed him worthy of a lifetime commitment, then Chen Xiling would likely give up hope. Lu Qin frowned slightly, wondering why her husband had invited Fang Chen to act as an arbiter. Did he, a mere son-in-law of the Liu family, truly possess such significant standing? She said expressionlessly, Young Master Fang, I ask you to judge impartially. Do not join her in this mischief simply because you have a personal acquaintance with my daughter. If the judgment were truly impartial, she was highly confident Zhong Qizhen would pass. How could Fang Chen find fault with such an outstanding and dragon-like figure among men? Chen Xiling, however, raised her head, lightly biting her red lips, and gazed at Fang Chen with pleading eyes. Fang Chen disappointed her. He simply wrote a note with a calm demeanor, "I will evaluate fairly and objectively." It was only at this moment that Zhong Qizhen finally noticed Fang Chen and Liu Ruxue, and he was greatly surprised. "Fang Chen, why are you here?" Chen Yuqiu looked at the two in astonishment and asked, "What? Young Master Zhong knows young Master Fang?" Zhong Qizhen panicked, quickly stepped in front of Fang Chen, and said, "I saw him once when I accompanied my master to the Liu family." He subtly gave Fang Chen a fierce glare, signaling him to shut up and not speak carelessly. Then, with a puzzled expression, he asked, "Uncle Chen, isn't today the blind date between Xiling and me? Why is he here?" Since he asked, Chen Yuqiu no longer concealed it. Young Master Fang has met countless people and possesses extraordinary abilities. I invited him here to vet Xiling's blind date, to see if he truly is the ideal husband she desires. Fang Chen was there to oversee this blind date, and Zhong Qizhen's expression gradually turned anxious. He was filled with regret. If he had known this, why would he have provoked Liu Ruxue and made an enemy of her just now? Chen Yuqiu did not notice his expression, and smilingly patted his shoulder. "However, you are so outstanding, young Master Fang will surely be full of praise, won't he, young Master Fang?" Fang Chen smiled, picked up a pen, and wrote a note. "Appearance, cultivation, family background, and sect are all impeccable and first-rate." Upon seeing such an evaluation, Chen Yuqiu nodded slightly. It was within his expectations. Lu Qin, however, revealed a joyful expression, secretly thinking, "At least this Fang Chen knows his place and didn't disrupt the good fortune of my Chen family." Chen Xiling's delicate body trembled slightly, her rosy cheeks visibly withered, and her eyes became utterly hollow, staring blankly. In her heart, there was only one feeling, utter despair. Her only chance to turn things around was mercilessly crushed by Fang Chen, making her feel as if a knife had been plunged into her heart, causing unbearable pain. Zhong Qizhen, whose heart had been hanging in suspense, breathed a sigh of relief and cast a scornful glance at Fang Chen. He secretly thought, "Useless trash, I knew you wouldn't dare to oppose me. However, do you think I'll let you off just like that? Unless you have the sense to send Liu Ruxue to my bed so I can have my fill, don't even think about me going easy on you during the competition." Chen Yuqiu chuckled, saying, "Since young Master Fang says it's ALR," he suddenly paused. Because Fang Chen had produced another note, however, his character is extremely poor, truly a scoundrel. The frustration that Liu Ruxue had held in her chest was finally released. She had genuinely thought Fang Chen had given a passing evaluation. As Chen Xiling's best friend, she certainly did not want to see her harmed by a shameless scoundrel. Chen Xiling's hollow eyes gradually regained focus, and her face quickly filled with pleasant surprise as she cast a deeply grateful look towards Fang Chen. Lu Qin's expression, however, darkened, and she said, "Young Master Fang, what is the meaning of this?" Just as things were about to be settled, Fang Chen suddenly pulled such a stunt. Fang Chen, expressionless, raised his pen and wrote, literally, to summarize, "Zhong Qizhen is outwardly splendid but inwardly corrupt. Marrying Chen Xiling to him would surely ruin her life." Chen Yuqiu was stunned, for he knew Fang Chen's identity. A dignified three-star soul master, with such status, had no need to slander a stranger. His gaze towards Zhong Qizhen now carried a layer of doubt. Lu Qin, however, could not accept this, saying, "Nonsense. Zhong Qizhen's reputation is excellent in Green Willow City, how can he be so despicable in your eyes? Young Master Fang, it is better to demolish 10 temples than to destroy one marriage. Please do not casually slander others." Fang Chen sighed, shaking his head, and wrote, "Sullied? Madam Chen, why don't you ask how the golden turtle son-in-law in your eyes just now, in the shop on the way here, harassed and insulted my wife, and even threatened me to force her into submission? And you dare to want such a person?" Chen Yuqiu was startled upon hearing this. "Is this true?" Liu Ruxue stood up, her pretty face showing a hint of anger, and bowed slightly, saying, "Uncle Chen, if you don't trust Xiao Chen, surely you can trust Ruxue's character? I stake my reputation that what Xiao Chen said is absolutely true." At this, Lu Qin was also surprised. As her daughter's only close friend, she knew Liu Ruxue's character better than anyone. She was learned, sensible, pure, and noble, disdaining to lie, especially not on matters of such grave importance concerning one's innocence. Liu Ruxue added, if you truly don't believe me, you can summon the shopkeeper and the assistant from that shop to confront them in court. With words spoken to this extent, what more could be questioned? Chen Yuqiu exploded in rage. Young Master Zhong, you still harass other women during a blind date? Who do you take my daughter for? And what kind of place do you think my Chen family is? This marriage arrangement is no longer up for discussion. Escort him out. Lu Qin also stared at Zhong Xizhen with deep disappointment. You've disappointed me too much. Leave now. You are never to come to our Chen family again. Zhong Xizhen never expected that the marriage he thought was within his grasp would be ruined by Fang Chen. He had planned to obstruct Fang Chen's fate of entering the Qingyun sect, yet his own marriage was first destroyed by Fang Chen. Zhong Xizhen suddenly let out a cold shout, startling away the approaching servants. He glared furiously at Chen Yuqiu. This matter isn't over yet. Chen Yuqiu angrily retorted, do you still intend to act presumptuously in my Chen family? Not having directly driven him away was already a courtesy, considering the friendship between the two families. Zhong Xizhen snorted through his nostrils, hands behind his back, and said, Chen family, have you forgotten my identity? An inner disciple of the Qingyun sect. If I spread the word, anyone who dares to marry Chen Xiling will be an enemy of mine. Do you think anyone else would dare to marry your daughter? Chen Yuqiu and Lu Qin's expressions suddenly changed. The identity of an inner disciple of the Qingyun sect carried significant weight, even a city lord would not dare to offend one. How much more so for an ordinary family? If he truly spread such a threat, who would dare marry her? Chen Xiling might well be left alone for life because of this. You are shameless. Liu Ruxue exclaimed in anger, if you can't have her, you'll destroy her? Zhong Xizhen retorted illogically, it was the Chen family who insulted me first by letting a useless person decide my marriage. Isn't this a slap in my face, Zhong Xizhen's face? He coldly glared at Chen Yuqiu and said, you have only two choices. Either let Chen Xiling accompany me for a few days, and once I tire of her, I will naturally send her back, and she can marry whoever she wishes. Or she will remain unmarried for her entire life. Liu Ruxue trembled with rage. How could there be such a shameless person in the world? She was deeply grateful that Fang Chen had broken off this engagement, otherwise, Chen Xiling's future would have been ruined. Even if Zhong Xizhen truly went all out, Chen Xiling's future was still ruined. Was she, in the prime of her life, destined to be ruined by a scoundrel like Zhong Xizhen? Witnessing Chen Xiling's helpless sorrow and tears, Liu Ruxue felt a pang of profound heartache. For years, Chen Xiling had been her caretaker, otherwise, her own circumstances would have been even more arduous. Suddenly, an idea sparked within her. She glanced at Fang Chen, then at Chen Xiling. After a moment of contemplation, she gritted her teeth slightly and declared, who said no one dares to marry Xiling? Under Chen Xiling's bewildered gaze, Liu Ruxue tugged at Fang Chen's arm, pulling him to his feet, and stated, Fang Chen, you will marry Chen Xiling. Fang Chen, utterly baffled, uttered, Ruxue, what nonsense are you speaking? The abrupt suggestion left him completely bewildered. However, Liu Ruxue bit her red lips slightly, her expression complex, and said, it's not nonsense. I have given it serious thought for a long time. She gazed at Fang Chen with a lingering look, filled with reluctance. If I am compelled to go to Qingyun sect and you fail the assessment, someone will be needed to care for you. Xiling, coincidentally, has feelings for you. I believe she will treat you kindly in my stead. She had pondered this for a long time. On the day of her departure, even if she were unwilling to leave Fang Chen, she would likely be forcibly taken by Li Qingfeng. In that scenario, Fang Chen would be left entirely alone. It would be better to seize this opportunity today and fulfill Chen Xiling's desire. Fang Chen wrote in astonishment, but what if I, too, can enter the Qingyun sect? If I were to formally marry Chen Xiling now, how could she ever remarry later? You would still be harming her. Absolutely not. Liu Ruxue's brow furrowed slightly. Given Zhong Xizhen's animosity towards Fang Chen, he would not make it easy, rendering Fang Chen's chances of passing the assessment minuscule. Yet, even with that slim possibility, she felt compelled to prepare for it. With an inquiring gaze, she began, Xiling, if Fang Chen and I were to be wed, would you still be willing to? She suddenly found the words difficult to utter. To have the sole daughter of the Chen family, such a beautiful and intelligent young woman, marry Fang Chen as a concubine, would be an insult. Not only was it impossible for Chen Xiling to agree, but even the head of the Chen family would never permit it. I am willing. What stunned Liu Ruxue was Chen Xiling's face, like the evening glow across the sky, her watery eyes filled with a misty shyness. She bashfully turned her face away, her voice barely a whisper. Liu Ruxue was taken aback. Xiling, do you understand my meaning? I'm asking you to be a concubine. Chen Xiling's pale cheeks reddened further, and with irrepressible shyness, she affirmed, I know, and I am willing. Liu Ruxue's mouth fell open in shock. Willing to be a concubine? She turned to look at Fang Chen, murmuring incredulously, what exactly does Xiling see in you? That she would humble herself to this extent? She was utterly perplexed. Zhong Qizhen smiled upon hearing this, saying, Junior sister, you are too naive. How could a prominent family like the Chen family allow their only daughter to become someone's concubine? What good is your and Chen Xiling's agreement? It requires the Chen family head's approval. In my opinion, it would be best to honestly hand Chen Xiling over. His words were suddenly interrupted. Chen Yuqiu's eyes lit up, and he exclaimed joyfully, Ruxue, you can make the decision? Who is Fang Chen? He is a 3-star soul master. Within the pavilion of heavenly secrets. The daughter of the Chen family, a towering figure of transcendence. To become the woman of such a person was akin to smoke rising from one's ancestral grave, an unquenchable blaze of fortune. He had never dared to imagine such a thing before, yet now, this tremendous stroke of luck had suddenly fallen upon him. However, he was uncertain about Fang Chen's attitude. Upon hearing this, Fang Chen raised his brush to write something, but Liu Ruxue snatched the brush from him and gently gave him a reproachful look, saying, Xiling is in trouble, what's wrong with helping out? This left Fang Chen feeling anxious and helpless. Liu Ruxue ignored him and said to Chen Yuqiu, Uncle Chen, as Fang Chen's future wife, the matter of taking a concubine is naturally for me to decide. As long as you agree, there will be no problem on my part. According to custom, the legal wife had the authority to decide on her husband taking concubines. Since she had agreed, it signified that the matter was settled. Chen Yuqiu was overcome with pleasant surprise and knelt down immediately in excitement, saying, On behalf of the entire Chen family, and on behalf of our ancestors, I thank Miss Liu for your great kindness and benevolence. Such a grand gesture startled Liu Ruxue, who quickly rushed forward to help him up. Uncle Chen, are you trying to overwhelm Ruxue with such honor? It was merely saving Chen Xiling, there's no need to involve all the ancestors. Little did she know, her decision had bound the Chen family to a 3-star soul master, thus allowing them to leap over the dragon's gate and ascend swiftly. Chen Yuqiu could not contain his excitement. Lu Qin, standing nearby, felt a pang of bitterness and resentfully pinched Chen Yuqiu's waist. The implication was, how could you be so happy about letting your daughter become someone's concubine? Even if it's out of necessity, this is not right, it greatly diminishes our daughter's status. Thinking that he and Fang Chen were now practically family, Chen Yuqiu lowered his voice and explained the situation. Fang Chen is the 3-star soul master from our Chen family. What? Lu Qin shrieked in shock, he is, shh. Keep it a secret. Chen Yuqiu stopped her in time. Only then did Lu Qin hastily close her mouth. Her gaze towards Fang Chen was filled with immense surprise and joy. With a joyful expression, she took Liu Ruxue's hand, saying, Ruxue, Auntie thanks you, truly thanks you. You are practically the great benefactor of our Chen family. Please accept a bow from me too. Liu Ruxue, in a fluster, helped her up. His mind was filled with questions. What exactly had happened to the Chen couple? Had he perhaps accomplished something extraordinary to warrant such a grand display of respect from them? After calming the two, she declared. She then turned to Zhong Qizhen and said. Zhong Qizhen's chest heaved, his eyes burning with boundless rage. He bellowed in utter humiliation. Having spoken, he departed in a furious huff. Fang Chen was speechless. Chen Xiling was on a blind date with someone else, yet somehow, she ended up becoming his concubine? He had merely been there to oversee the situation. However, with events having unfolded to this point, there was no other choice. After a moment of contemplation, he produced his last remaining mortal transcending pill, along with several bottles of high-grade Qi cultivation liquid, and the high-level yellow-rank cultivation manual. Since a bond now exists between us, these items are for you. Consume them as soon as possible, then ask elderly Qingfeng to test your spiritual root to see if you can also enter the Azure Cloud sect. Chen Xiling, without even a close look at the items, accepted them with a flushed face. Fang Chen also found the situation rather awkward. Just then, a servant suddenly reported. Upon hearing this, Chen Yucho's expression became serious, and she said. It was rumored that old Master Qin Wenyuan of the Qin family had returned. He was known to be a ruthless individual. Although Fang Chen was a 3-star soul master, his cultivation might not be as strong as Qin Wenyuan's. Should they clash, Fang Chen might suffer a disadvantage. Fang Chen furrowed his brow. Qin Wenyuan? How could his name be so similar to Huang Wenyuan's? There's no need, I will handle it myself. Fang Chen waved his hand and immediately rushed back to the Liu family estate with Liu Ruxue. The Chen family was still unaware of his breakthrough to the 3rd stage of foundation establishment. Had they known, such concerns would not have arisen. Outside the main gate, Liu Ruyan was already waiting. Upon seeing Fang Chen, she wanted to voice a few complaints. However, recalling that the Qin family had initiated the vandalism, and that Fang Chen had injured so many of them for the sake of the Liu family, she could only speak with a troubled expression. Although we were merely forced to retaliate, how could old Master Qin ever be reasoned with? Liu Ruxue was also worried, her brow furrowed. Fang Chen's expression involuntarily turned cold. A 1-star soul master? He raised his brush and declared, I'd like to see what explanation he demands from me. Having spoken, he stepped into the mansion. In the main hall, Liu Zhangyan stood obediently in the center, while Qin Wenyuan sat boldly in the patriarch's seat, slowly sipping a cup of tea. Has Fang Chen not returned yet? He asked, his tone commanding without needing to show anger. Liu Zhangyan, with a bitter expression, said, Elder Qin, all the mistakes are mine. Punish me if you must, but please spare Fang Chen, he is still just a child. Slap. As soon as Qin Changsheng heard this, he stepped forward and slapped Liu Zhangyan across the face. Liu Zhangyan's cultivation was superior to his, and he could have easily dodged, but in front of Qin Wenyuan, he dared not flinch, allowing the slap to land on his face. A child? Qin Changsheng furiously pointed to his broken arm. Was he acting like a child when he broke my arm? I tell you, if Fang Chen doesn't give my Qin family an explanation today, your Liu family will be razed to the ground. With their patriarch publicly slapped, how could any clan member not be enraged? However, with the formidable Qin Wenyuan present, they, though filled with indignation, dared not voice their anger, allowing the Qin family to act presumptuously. Among the clan members, Wang Yingfeng was filled with regret, her intestines turning green. What enmity had they incurred to invite the plague god, Liu Zhang, into the Liu family? He had repeatedly brought catastrophic disaster upon the Liu family. If it weren't for Fang Chen holding things together, the Liu family would have long been gone. But this time, they faced a soul master. How could Fang Chen possibly withstand the pressure? Chirp! The cry of a flying beast echoed, and Li Qingfeng, riding on it, arrived upon hearing the news. After all, the Liu family was the clan of his 2 disciples, and since he, as their master, was nearby, he absolutely could not pretend not to see what was happening. Qin Wenyuan's gray eyebrows twitched. He quickly stepped forward, cupped his hands, and said, Elderly. Li Qingfeng descended, maintaining a polite demeanor, Master Qin, there's no need for such formality. With your glorious return home, our Qingyun sect should have paid a visit. The status of a soul master far surpassed that of ordinary people, even a 1-star soul master held an extraordinary position within the Qingyun sect. Li Qingfeng, as an elder, also showed 3 points of courtesy. Qin Wenyuan understood his intention and said, Elderly, you've come to mediate the conflict, haven't you? Li Qingfeng smiled and said, it's better to resolve enmity than to perpetuate it. Could you grant me this favor and let both parties cease hostilities? Upon seeing his arrival, the members of the Liu family secretly rejoiced. With Elderly stepping forward, the day's events would undoubtedly be resolved. Liu Zhangyan also let out a long sigh of relief. Fortunately, Elderly was stationed in the city, otherwise, today's affair would have been difficult to resolve peacefully. However, Qin Wenyuan showed a hint of annoyance on his face. Elderly, it's not that I'm unwilling to give you face, but rather that the Liu family has gone too far. I recall that in those years, I made significant contributions to solitary Boat City. However, in the decade or so since my departure, the Liu family has injured and crippled my entire Qin family. If I do not avenge this injustice, I would be unworthy of my Qin ancestors. Seeing Li Qingfeng's displeasure, he sighed, however. Since Elder Li himself is interceding, I shall make a concession. Every wrong has its author, and every debt its debtor. Since Fang Chen is the true culprit, we will only seek trouble from Fang Chen, and it will have no bearing on the rest of the Liu family. The members of the Liu family were secretly ecstatic. That the Liu family was not implicated showed immense deference from Qin Yuan. This was the best possible outcome. Li Qingfeng revealed a faint smile. Master Qin is benevolent, and on behalf of the Liu family, I thank you. Only Liu Zhengyan's heart sank. He asked, Elderly, could you also help Fang Chen? With the Qin family pouring all their wrath upon Fang Chen, the price he would pay was imaginable. Li Qingfeng frowned. He had no desire to concern himself with Fang Chen's fate. If Fang Chen were to be crippled and unable to join the Qingyun sect, it would be even better, saving his cherished disciple Liu Ruxue from being burdened. His expression grew serious as he said, Patriarch Liu, this elder has already done his best. Although Fang Chen is young, he must bear the consequences of his own actions. He will also mature through this experience, so it may not necessarily be a bad thing for him. Qin Yuan, radiating authority without anger, scoffed, Liu Zhengyan, you should be content. Were it not for Elder Li's consideration, your Liu family would not escape the crime of sheltering a culprit today. Numerous clan members urged Liu Zhengyan not to further provoke the two influential figures, warning that if they became enraged, Qin Yuan might retract his promise, thereby implicating the Liu family as well. But Xiao Chen. Liu Zhengyan said with reluctance, feeling it was unfair, as Fang Chen had provoked the Qin family precisely for the sake of the Liu family. Just as they were speaking, a tall, upright figure strode swiftly through the door. Who else could it be but Fang Chen? Upon seeing him, Liu Zhengyan's face was filled with guilt, and he said, Xiao Chen, my Liu family has harmed you. The other clan members also lowered their heads in shame, unwilling to meet Fang Chen's gaze. Fang Chen's gaze was calm as he casually scanned the Qin family members, then, with a cold expression, he picked up a brush and wrote. I spared your wretched lives last time, this time, are you foolishly coming to your deaths again? As soon as this note appeared, the Qin clan members erupted. Qin Shangsheng laughed in fury, you bastard, don't you see the situation you're in? Yet you still dare to spout such arrogance. Let me tell you, if you don't give our Qin family a satisfactory explanation today, you won't leave this place alive. Li Qingfeng also frowned slightly, looking at Fang Chen's note, and shook his head involuntarily. Young man, if you were less arrogant and more humble, you wouldn't find yourself in today's predicament. Quickly kneel and apologize to Master Qin, and you might still have some room for negotiation with him. Otherwise, even I won't be able to protect you today. Master Qin? Qin Yuan? Fang Chen's gaze swept across the room, landing on Qin Yuan. Isn't this face Huang Yuan? He did not recognize that the person before him was the disheveled old man from Floating Cloud Cave. However, Qin Yuan recognized Fang Chen immediately. Isn't this the three-star soul master who defeated Su Ganglai with one sword in Floating Cloud Cave? No, he should be a four-star soul master. His lips trembled as he spoke, you are Fang Chen? He never dreamed that to avoid that four-star soul master, he had decided to move his entire family out of Lone Boat City and go far away. Before leaving, to uphold his family's honor, he had come to demand a price from Fang Chen. Who could have imagined that Fang Chen, the one he sought trouble with, was precisely that four-star soul master? This discovery made him feel as if he had stepped on an empty stone and plunged into a bottomless abyss. Boundless fear enveloped his heart, rendering him petrified on the spot. Qin Shansheng did not notice the old man's abnormality, and sneered arrogantly, with the Qin family's patriarch present, why aren't you kneeling? That way, the patriarch might still consider showing mercy. Liu Zhengyan, filled with shame, gritted his teeth slightly and, with a thud, knelt before Qin Yuan on Fang Chen's behalf. He said, Elder Qin, I have knelt for Fang Chen. Whatever you intend to do to him next, I will bear it in his stead. Regardless, Fang Chen only encountered such a great disaster because of the Qin family. How could he bear to let Fang Chen suffer alone? Qin Shangsheng, furious, stepped forward and kicked him to the ground. Liu Zhengyan, what the hell are you? Who gave you the right to take punishment for Fang Chen? Get out. No one can save this little bastard today. Seeing this, Fang Chen's eyes gleamed coldly as he helped Liu Zhengyan up. He then walked towards Qin Changsheng with an intimidating glare. The Qin family is truly going too far. Qin Changsheng, instead of getting angry, laughed. Elder, just look at how arrogant and wild this little beast is, trying to act fierce right in front of you. Please, you must not let him go, you must not. Slap suddenly. A dark shadow flashed, and Qin Changsheng was then met with a solid slap. He looked in the direction of the hand, his face bewildered. Elder, why did you hit me? Shouldn't Fang Chen be the one getting hit? But upon clearly seeing the old man's face, he swallowed hard. At that moment, the old man's eyebrows were bristling, his features distorted by rage, and his eyes blazed with immense fury. Then, an unprecedented roar erupted from his mouth. You scoundrel! I, Qin Wenyuan, must have had 8 lifetimes of bad luck to end up with a prodigal son like you. He trembled with rage, looking as if he could devour someone. Qin Changsheng clutched his stinging face. Grandpa, what exactly is wrong? Not only was he bewildered, but Liu Zhangyan and many other members of the Liu family were also perplexed. Li Qingfeng also felt a sense of bewilderment and confusion. Shouldn't Qin Wenyuan be severely punishing Fang Chen next, to uphold the dignity of his clan members? What was the meaning behind suddenly slapping Qin Changsheng? Seeing his aggrieved expression, Qin Wenyuan was furious and delivered another violent slap, knocking him to the ground. Beast! Do you still have the nerve to feel wronged? I ask you, why did you break into the Liu family residence and vandalize it? Liu Zhengyan's heart jolted, and he immediately explained the full sequence of events. Upon hearing the account, Qin Wenyuan became even more enraged. No wonder Fang Chen intended to support the Chen family and bring down the Qin family. You helped Liu Zhang snatch his wife. This is a profound hatred of having one's wife stolen, an unforgivable offense. How dare he claim he hasn't offended anyone? I'll kill you, you unfilial son! Qin Wenyuan roared, consumed by fury, raising his palm to strike him dead and provide an explanation to Fang Chen. Liu Zhangyan was startled. He said, Elder Qin, please show mercy. Although it was unclear why Qin Wenyuan had made such a decision. Allowing Qin Changsheng to truly die in the Liu family residence would attract criticism, and the Liu family still needed to make a living in Lone Boat City. Qin Wenyuan suppressed his anger and withdrew his hand, but then looked at Fang Chen, saying, Young Master Fang, I have failed in my upbringing, allowing my son to commit such heinous acts. How you wish to deal with him is entirely up to your discretion. Everyone in the hall was utterly astonished.